Welcome to Storytime with Gina and Zena. Hi, I'm ZBexx.
I'm Covert Go Gina.
And today we are going to be jumping into episode 3 from March of the Machine, Mother, Son, and Story by K. Arsenal Rivera. Before we do, hit that subscribe button already. If you haven't, go ahead and do that now. We know you want to hear this story, so take it away, Gina.
We're in Kamigawa, and Tamio is hovering in the neon skies, reading from a scroll. As she reads, the syllables boom and shake the skyscrapers of Towashi. Trains are going off track. The earth is tearing itself apart. Rivers are pouring in. There's boats everywhere. Oil's mingling with the water. And even the kami are dissolving into a fine mist, and it's swallowing the whole district in fog. It's truly epic.
We're seeing this scene of Kamigawa turning into another part of Phyrexia, part of New Phyrexia, as all will be one. So much so that Boseiju bursts into pieces. Our giant, lovely tree is just branches falling away.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be the big target. But Tamio, she is having an inner struggle. Somewhere deep inside, a small part of her is screaming at the sight of all of this. But she's not afraid because the larger part believes this is what's right for Kamigawa. They deserve peace after centuries of war. This story will end with Phyrexian victory. And that's the bit of Tamio's perspective we get in the story. And then we're going to jump to a different character.
One last thing, as Tamio is floating above, she's kind of looking at all of these stories as Phyrexia is falling apart, but she's seeing each of these scrolls from stories that she knows, and she knows them by heart. And good thing she does, because her oil is leaking all over the parchment. Like, ew, gross. Like, she should start thinking of making a business with all of that excess glistening oil. Like, you could really make a profit off of that in this economy.
We're going to go to Kaya, and Kaya is freaking out a bit, actually. This is like the least chill she's been. There is too much going on to save everyone, and no time to unload all her feelings of bitterness and doubt. So she runs. She jumps onto a balcony, and then jumps again because it splits off, and then she lands on the floor of a ruined kitchen. She hears a scream, and finds a young boy and his dog trapped behind fallen supports. So she phases them out and tries to figure out, how am I going to get them to safety? The whole side of the building's been torn off, and the boy does tuck his dog in the shirt to keep him safe.
This whole scene was just, if you should probably read it if you want to see action movie in a story, because they did a really good job here of making me feel like we were in like a Mission Impossible, James Bond type of buildings falling, crashing thing.
I really loved it. So Kaya asks the kid if he's good at jumping. And I love this part. The boy says, "The best!" So she takes his hand, and on the count of 3, they leap toward another balcony. And just as they should be landing, it gives way and they fall. And Kaya pulls the boy and his dog to her chest and closes her eyes. But the impact never comes.
They don't go splat?
They don't go splat. Slows their fall and leaves them like just hovering above the ground. And Kaito's voice says, "Try to be less reckless next time."
Kaito comes in and saves the day right here when our hero and the kid and the dog were on their way to the final end. We get like a magic bubble of, is it telepathy or something that's keeping them afloat?
Telekinesis.
Telekinesis, thank you.
Well, you know that if anything bad happens to the dog, we're out. Like, we're just going to leave this story.
Yeah, MTG Dogs has shown you anything on Twitter. We like dogs in this community.
Mm-hmm. Anything bad happens to a dog in a movie, I am anti that movie.
Agreed.
So luckily, the boy and the dog are fine. They hop to the ground and run towards a woman shouting for him. So must have like a relative or somebody who made it. And Kaya gets up, thanks Kaito. And so now we're going to get to the business of what we need to do here. Kaito fills her in. The Boseiju tree is the main target. Tamio is reading scrolls above it. Kaya's an assassin, but Kaito actually wants to be the one to take Tamio out because for him, it's personal. But he does ask Kaya to round up the kami to fight. So Kaya asks, "Where's the Wanderer?" And Kaito does like a little lip twitch. And he's like, "She's coming. She's coming." Like, she's always coming. It's fine. Kaito, we're going to cut to him preparing to climb a slippery tree. And then he hears a little small voice behind him.
Yeah, move along, kid, run along. But when Kaito is about to say, hey, kid, get out, the battle is about to begin, we're going to have our DBZ showdown, Kaito recognizes the little kid. It's actually the Nezumi child that Tamio had adopted with Genku.
It's Nashi. She asks, you're not gonna hurt her, are you? Like, she looks different, but I think she's just forgotten herself. If I could just talk to her? And Kaito tries to tell him, like, it's not a good idea, but Nashi believes like he has to try, and his mom told him that that's what heroes do. And no matter who she is, she'll always love me. She promised. And then I cry a little.
Poor thing. He really thinks that he can go talk to Tamio and change his mommy back.
Well, you gotta try, right?
I love that we have a little glimmer of hope in this story.
It feels like there's a chance based on episode 1 and how Tamio's been feeling so far in this one, too.
Yeah.
So we are kind of on Team Hope right now. Kaito does not want to do this. He's worried about the kid getting hurt, but it does make him think about his own mother and how far he'd go to save her. So he's going to help Nashi up the tree with like a device that helps him float without touching the tree, because touching the tree would be bad. We can't get the oil on us because that makes you all completed.
No, I picture this little telekinesis floating bubble being like a little segue for Nezumi to Nashi to go up the tree.
He's just like slowly hovering up. They get close to Tamio. Kaito pulls out his sword, and Nashi gets the chance. He's going to carefully make his way to the end of a branch. Mom? And this part freaked me out. Tamio's head swivels all the way around her neck. Just goes like an owl or something. Oh, it's so creepy. So he says, it's me, Nashi. You remember me, right? I don't think you want to do this. You're making a mistake. Someone's making you. And Tamio says, Nashi, what are you doing here? And then her body snaps around to match her head. And then they shoot metal shards toward the two of them. And Kaito is like deflecting with telekinesis. Bah, bah, bah. Yeah. Tamio says, join me, Nashi. makes Nashi retreat back toward the tree. Nashi does not want to give up, but Kaito snaps, this isn't your mother. Go.
Yeah, shielding the children like a good role model would.
So the fight continues. Tamio's got claws and weaponized scrolls attempting to bind Kaito's limbs, and Tamio continues to shout out propaganda like, I pity you, fighting against peace to maintain your loneliness.
There's still shards coming through the air at Kaito while all of this is happening.
But hearing her like this is like actually making him tear up and hope that Nashi can't hear her, because this is really upsetting. And a scroll manages to wrap around his leg and flips him. And now he's dangling.
Kaito kind of set himself up for this. So Kaito mid-combat is like, I'm going to do this backflip. And mid-backflip, the scroll like catches his leg. And he's like, oh no. And then suddenly Tamio has him dangling upside down by his leg with her scroll mid-air over the tree.
A penalty for trying to get style points.
Yeah. 1 penalty for Kaito, no style point. In fact, 2 style points are awarded to Tamio for using her scrolls as a weapon. Paper cut.
Ooh, paper cut. Oh,
those are bad.
Can you imagine? Ooh.
Okay, actually, this scene really reminded me of Spirited Away, where all the little paper cut things are flying in like...
Tamio demands his surrender. He declines, cutting himself down, knowing he'll probably fall. He's like, I'd rather die than go with you.
Yeah, he somehow can reach his sword, so I imagine he is reaching up above, like cutting himself free.
It's important to work on your core for moments like this when you need to do like a really big sit-up.
Yes.
But once again, the impact never comes.
The Wanderer, cool.
Guardian Spirit Kyodai, and it catches him. And Kaya. Kaya's there too now. What?
She even has a really cheeky thing to say. We're up to 3 if you're keeping count.
The Emperor confronts Tamio, And Tamio backs away until she reaches Nashi and puts a hand on his head. And Kaito calls to Nashi, like, look away, child. And then all of this happens really fast. Kyodai breathes on the Emperor's sword. Tamio unrolls one very special scroll, and somehow the Emperor takes out Tamio in one strike, and she falls.
Boom. And this scroll, a very important detail, the scroll that Tamio is like removing from her pocket has an iron ring around it, which she slips off at the same time that Kyodai is like enchanting the Wanderer's sword with like spirit magic at the same time that the Wanderer is like slicing Tamio in half.
Yeah, like I reread this section several times because I could not believe, like, wait, did she just do it with one? Just one and done? I Tamio's a badass. How did that happen?
I think this means that the Wanderer with the Kyodai sword would beat both Sailor Moon and Goku in a fight.
Yeah, just powered up the sword and it goes through anything.
Yeah.
All the adults are comforting Nashi, who sees now that it wasn't his mother anymore, but he's still like really heartbroken about it. But then it gets really spooky because they hear Nashi's mother calling for him. Nashi, I'm sorry. And then this is amazing. They see these floating characters forming a woman's silhouette, and they're glowing and dimming. And
this is
it's
eerie
Tamio's
cool.
voice.
Like, I'm getting goosebumps right now.
Yeah. And Tamio explains that she isn't a ghost, but a memory that Tamio created in anticipation of her death and sealed in a special scroll.
Almost like a memory capsule that wasn't buried underground, that was buried in the scroll.
She did this, I think, because she knew she was going to die, and she wanted to make sure that some part of her would continue on because of maybe all of her knowledge and the stories and the different things.
And Kaito is seeing all of the floating images and is a little worried that it might be another trick, because like that was kind of fast, the whole ending of it. Is the Phyrexian a spirit now?
Yeah, but the Emperor assures him, like, oh, it's definitely not a trick. She actually, apparently time slowed down because she saw Tamio set up the scroll and believes Tamio did not bring her A game to the fight on purpose and wanted the Emperor to take her out.
I really love this part when the Wanderer goes back and said, didn't you notice during the fight that all of the shards she were sending were too wide to do any damage? She says Tamio was making a last request by, in the only way she could. She was so controlled by the Phyrexian, she couldn't possibly bring herself to speak against All Will Be One, but she was like, end me because I'm awful. That, like, okay, doesn't this take it so samurai level for you? Because traditionally, like, you know, samurai, yeah.
And there's a sweet moment where Nashi gets to hug the memory. I didn't know the memory was going to be huggable, but I loved that.
I did too. The characters aren't dead. The story is unending.
Those that are left, they look out over the city and wonder what they can do and how many they can save. And Tamio's last story spoke of a great evil that threatened to swallow the planes of the multiverse and infect the hearts of all, but a protector in white fought against it.
Our second little moniker about a lady in white, a character in white, robes of white. Who could
we
be?
all know who. She's fine. The Silex didn't take her out. It's fine.
What was your favorite part of the story?
I loved a lot of the things as far as Nashi trying to bring his mom back. One moment from all of that, my favorite was when Tamio's head swiveled all the way around her neck. That was so creepy. It was such a moment of like, Mom? And then she does that. It's just
My favorite part was the epic battle. That exact moment when Kyodai is helping the Wanderer. It gives me this great, like, Studio Ghibli feeling. The great Kami beneath them flies to her side. The Emperor holds her sword toward her companion, and Kyodai breathes upon it. Kyodai's power flows through the Emperor. that sort of unity that we get, this soul bounding type of relationship, I just really love that. It gives me hope that, you know, if you want the non-Phyrexian, the mirror inside to win, you have a little bit. Did you have a favorite picture from this story?
I guess it would be the one of the Wanderer trying to make that slice on Tamio. That's definitely the most exciting image in this story, I think.
I agree. I flipped back to it when we were talking about it quite a bit. Well, that's it for episode 3. We've got episode 4 coming up next, so make sure you hit the subscribe button and like this episode